What is going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be taking a look at the PC port for Evil West from developer Flying Wild Hogs, who you may know for working on the Shadow Warrior games. This is sort of similar to that in terms of how it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's a Western game where you're fighting against various different monsters, vampires, bats, werewolves, all that kind of stuff, sort of like fantasy creatures, but also set in the world of the Wild West, and there's also like some sci-fi elements to it, so it's all actually really cool, really fun, and I heard about this game about maybe the last 6 to 9 months, and ever since then, I've been looking forward to it coming out. It's got 2-player co-op online, or you could play it solo, which is how I was playing it for about 2 hours. Honestly, didn't want to put the game down to do this port report. I was really enjoying it. So we'll talk about the gameplay, the co-op, the graphics options, the performance, and everything. It's all pretty positive stuff for the most part with Evil West, so let's get into it. But first, today's video is brought to you by SuperCDK.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for just $22, and then you can unlock the prestigious Dark Mode for Windows 10, which I honestly could not live without. It is blinding without the dark mode. You guys need it in your life. And now you can also save an additional 25% off at checkout by clicking Buy Now on any software products over there. Just go ahead and add it into your cart and put in my code JP25 at checkout and apply, and that'll bring our price from $22.44 all the way down to $16.83, a savings of over $5, and I'll walk you through how to get your key and install it on Windows 10. Go ahead and click Submit Order and complete your checkout from there. For me, that's going to be with PayPal, and then click on Pay Now. After completing the checkout, it'll bring you to your purchased order page, and it will update in a matter of seconds, or just go ahead and hit F5. Go ahead and do that one time. It came through literally immediately. I got the payment email that it had gone through and the delivery of the product exactly at the same time. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click on View Keys and Codes, and we'll get our code right here that we can go ahead and copy and paste in on Windows 10 by hitting the Start button and type in the word Activate. When you see that activation settings or see if Windows is activated, go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring up this right here, and click on Change Your Product Key or Unlock Windows 10. As I already have Windows 10, I obviously don't need to put in a new key, but just paste it in and then go ahead and click Next, and you are all done and set. For more information on SuperCDK.com as well as the coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. As always with these videos, I like to start off in the options menu so we can go over what's going on in there. As you can see, I'm right now at full screen, but we've also got a full screen windowed mode or a borderless window or windowed mode you can also utilize. It's got 4K support, ultra wide and everything, VSync, uncapped frame rates, and we've got some decent amount of graphics options down here. I'm just on the Epic overall quality preset, which is to say everything is maxed out in here. We've also got a resolution scale slider if you want to utilize that. But we've got view distance, anti-aliasing, no information on what these actually are, so fairly generic options list. Post-processing, shadows, textures, effects, and foliage, everything maxed out there. Motion blur I did have disabled. Also, thankfully, we've got NVIDIA DLSS in here with a sharpness slider, in AMD CAS as well, CAS strength adjuster, and AMD FSR, which it does not mention in here. Which version of FSR? Hopefully they're using at least 2.0. For this game. Now, I was playing on mouse and keyboard, although you could definitely make a case to want to play this game with a controller, as it is actually heavily melee focused. It's various different abilities, like you have guns like a pistol and a shotgun, but the aiming for them is pretty much on rails and auto lock on. So far from what I've gotten, the repeater rifle is the only one where you're really manually aiming it, and it does require some precision there to utilize it. So I feel like you could play this game mouse and keyboard or controller, but I can definitely understand why some people might want to play it on a controller, as the movement system is very similar to Gears of War, so it lends itself well to a controller, especially paired up with the melee combat, but I don't really feel you can go wrong either way. As I said, I was playing mouse and keyboard the whole time, and some of the button combinations, like when you get the electrical gauntlet and things, are a little wonky, like Q and S or Q and W to do these special pulls or jumps with it. Q and W wasn't so much of a problem, but QS is a little awkward, so it does get a little convoluted on the mouse and keyboard, but nothing that some remapping probably couldn't solve. As a quick word to the multiplayer or online co-op of this, you can play with up to 2 players or single player, and according to the multiplayer screen with the difficulty, it is scaled up for the co-op experience so that it's a little bit more difficult in terms of the health of the enemies and the damage that they can put out. You can revive teammates in co-op. They also mention in here, one bad thing about the co-op is the progression system. So the session host is the only person that can progress the story and the character, meaning anyone that jumps in with you in co-op, their progress is only being made for your game or whoever the host happens to be. And obviously they can jump back in at a later time and it'll give them money and abilities based on what your character is and how far along you are in the game. So it stays fairly linear, but it does kind of suck that you won't be able to like take your progress from one campaign to the other for your character build. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but it's okay, honestly. The game is still a hell of a lot of fun. As I mentioned, in terms of the combat, you're going to be swapping a lot between using some special abilities, melee abilities, combos, lifting enemies up into the air, parrying, and also doing some timed, interactions where certain enemies will have like this orb will sort of like show up because they're about to do like a powerful ability to you, but you can quickly like pull up your repeater rifle, and if you shoot them in time before the attack, it'll do a lot of damage to them and weaken them significantly. And you're sort of trying to have to use all these different abilities on the fly as you learn them, because the different enemy types are going to require different abilities to more effectively dispatch them. Not to say you couldn't just beat the hell out of pretty much any enemy in the game or just spam them with your revolver or your repeater rifle. You totally could in most cases, but it's a hell of a lot funner, and you can be more efficient at taking out enemies if you figure out which attacks work best against the certain enemy types based on how they look and how they move and the interactions that you have with them. And it all just works really well. Think something like Gears of War, but with like maybe some Doom aspects to it, and also Shadow Warrior. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And so far, it's just been an absolute blast playing. And I know it has some mixed reviews, but for me, this is exactly what I expected it to be, and it's really fun, and I highly recommend checking it out. It is $50 over on Steam, although I've seen it on some key sites for under $40, so look around if you're thinking about picking it up, but obviously if you get it through Steam, you have the advantage of being able to get a refund. Now, in terms of the performance on PC, I was playing on the RTX 4080 at native 4K max settings, as you saw in the options menu. I was also on the latest NVIDIA driver, 526.98, which I believe is game ready for Evil West, and I saw no need to use DLSS or anything. I was always over 100 frames per second, regularly up over 120, even 150 FPS at times. The cutscenes are letterboxed and capped to 60 frames per second as they're pre-rendered, so that it looks completely different to like actually playing in-game. Which isn't really the end of the world, but I wish they were done in real time if I was to be a little bit picky about it. I just think that presents a lot better, and it's more cohesive between the gameplay and watching the cutscenes, but I'm not going to like take any points away for it. It happens all the time. I will note that there was some frame drops and stutters here or there, mostly when it seemed to be loading in either new assets for the first time, like going from one area to the next, or also during certain explosions or abilities, like I said, the stuff that hadn't been rendered yet before in the game. So it's like sort of like loading it in for the first time and caching it, and then after that, it would pretty much go away. But every once in a while, there would be like a big like lag or a spike here or there, sometimes in combat, but mostly when transitioning between areas. So it's not a deal breaker by any means. It's there. It seemed to be fairly persistent, even though it was a DirectX 11 game. I do wish they could smooth that out a little bit, maybe in a future update. But as I said, it wasn't enough to distract or take away from the game. Had a blast playing it. Happy to have spent the $50 getting it, and I'm definitely not refunding it. Even if I can't convince a buddy to pick it up and play online co-op with me, I'll still cane through this in single player because it's a hell of a lot of fun even playing it by yourself. Now, I do wish that for the co-op, maybe since it doesn't save character progression, it'd be nice if you could have a buddy just drop in without any extra charge. Like in a lot of other games, they do that. They'll make that available. Not a lot of games, but some games do it. Some games do it, like It Takes Two. They made it so only one person needed to own the game and the other person could hop in. I believe that was in It Takes Two. I'm pretty sure. I know other games have done it, though. And it's always nice when they do think to include that, but I can understand this is a smaller developer with Flying Wild Hogs and Focus Interactive, or Focus Entertainment. I can't remember the name of the publisher. But they're a relatively smaller studio, so I can understand they need to sell this game to as many people as possible in order to recoup it. And yeah, bravo to them. I definitely recommend checking it out. Support these guys. pick it up, and let me know what you think down in the comments below. On Evil West, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and if I don't see you guys again, or see you or talk to you again, if you don't hear from me again, I should say, before Thanksgiving, happy holiday, happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone has a safe holiday and a great day today, and I'll catch you next time for another video. Peace.